Hi, welcome to this video on mean, median, mode, and range review. We're going to be talking about using this example here as a way to discuss the different measures of center and then the measure of spread, the range. So Mr. Murphy is a high school history teacher at Longmire High School in Montana, and he has a variety of classes that he teaches, a variety of age levels, and also you can see a variety of sizes. So we're going to be determining his average class size. So he has a class size of, he has 6 classes. One is 28 students, 18, 25, 20, 28, and 24. And the question we're answering is, what is the average class size? Which might make you jump to one conclusion there. But then you see the second question, and it says, which measure of center is best representative of his typical class size? So that leads us to believe there's more than one way of calculating this problem, and we're to determine which one's best. So let's think about this a little bit more deeply as we look at the different measures of center we can use. So probably when you first saw the problem about Mr. Murphy and his classes, you probably first thought when it said average, you jumped to the idea of mean. So mean is another word for the average. So I kind of remember this little picture here. So to remember the mean is the average, I build the word average off of the A in the word mean. And to find the average, you will do two things. You're going to add all the numbers together and then divide by the number of numbers. So you will divide by the number of numbers in the set of data that you are finding the average of. So you can see the mean makes us do 2 steps here, and we have to divide, and no one likes to divide. So I remember that the mean is the one that's not very nice. It's the one that's mean. It makes me divide. Okay, so that's kind of how I remember calculating mean. The other measure of center that is often used, and you will see this a lot in statistics when they talk about average, they're actually calculating the median. And the median is the middle. So it's the middle of the data. So if I take the word median, and you see the D in the middle, and I build off of it, I can write the word middle right there, going down in the word median. And if you think about it on a highway, you know, if you have a highway, and then you have that section that separates the traffic from over there. There's this green grass that separates the other traffic from the other side. That's called the median. So that's another way to remember that the median is the middle. In order to find the middle of the data, you need to first put your data in order from least to greatest. Oh, that's ugly. And then once it's in order from least to greatest, then you find the middle. Now that can be tricky because if you have an even set of data, which we're going to, I'm going to show you how we do that then. That could be a little more complicated than you think. If you remember in school crossing off numbers from one end to the other, that was when you were finding the median. The other measure of center is the mode, and the mode is very short. And it's a very simple concept. The mode is the piece of data that appears the most often, or the most occurring. So the number that's repeated most often, that is called the mode. It kind of like sets the tone for the data. It sets the mode. It's not all data sets. The thing with the mode is that not all data sets have a mode. You could have no mode. You could have more than one mode. So you could have 1 mode, 2 modes, 3 modes, or no modes. So the mode can be a little bit tricky, even though it's pretty easy to calculate. And then the last one is the one that everyone forgets. It's the one that we often see, and then my students are always like, I don't remember how to find the range. The range is essentially the distance from one end of the data set to the other. It's the greatest minus the least. It's how far apart the data spreads. So the range is actually a measure of spread, not a measure of center. So that's a review of the different concepts. Let's go back and look at Mr. Murphy's problem. Okay, let's start with finding the mean. So remember again, the mean is the average. So it's the one where we have to take all the numbers and add them up and then divide by the number of numbers. So we're going to take these numbers here, add them up, and then divide by 6. So when I add those numbers up, I get 143, and I'm going to divide 143 by 6. That's about 23.8. It's actually 23.83 repeating. So you might think, well, that's kind of strange. How can I have 0.8 of a student? So what that really means is it's a little bit more than 23 students, but a little bit less than 24, but closer to 24 than 23. So don't let the decimal throw you off. So that's one way to consider the typical number or the average number of students in his class. Another thing would be to calculate the median. So let's try that. Remember, the median is another word for the middle. So in order for me to find the middle, I need to first take the data and put it in order from least to greatest. So I'm taking his class sizes with the smallest class first, followed by all the classes in order until we get to the greatest or the biggest classes that he has in his 6 classes. Now, since there are 6 numbers in our data set, he has 6 classes. If we find the middle, half of 6 is 3. So I'd be counting in 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And there we are at the middle. So the middle would be between these 2 numbers. So to find that, I'm going to take the average. So when you have an even number of numbers in your data set, what's going to happen is you divide it in half, and half of the data will be on one side and the other half will be on the other side. And now if he were to have, like, say, 7 classes, then there would actually be a number that's in the middle. But when it's not, then we have to take the 2 numbers that are in the middle of the data and we add them together and divide that by 2. So we're essentially finding the average of the middle, and that will be 24.5. So in this case, the median is 24.5, another decimal. So about 24 or 25 students. So you can see the median is a little bit higher than the mean, but still pretty close. So the last one we're going to do is the mode. And the mode is the one that occurs the most often. So the mode occurs MO, most often. And since we already have our numbers in order from least to greatest, we're going to use that to find the mode. So as we scan through, we have 118, 120, just 124, 125, but there are 2 28s. So since 28 occurs twice, and none of the other numbers do, then 28 is the mode. So now we found all 3 measures of center: the mean, the median, which was 24.5, and the mode, which was 28. So now we need to decide which one is the best representative of this typical class size. So a lot of you might pick 28 because it occurred twice. And this is a common misconception that people have. They think the mode is always the one that's most typical because it occurs more than one time. But not only is 28 the mode, it's also the maximum. So the largest class size he has is 28. And so it would not be a very good representative number of his class sizes because he has other classes that are much smaller than 28. As a matter of fact, 18 is 10 less students than 28. So to say his typical class size is 28 would be a little high. But because the mode is so high, it's going to help us decide whether to choose the mean or median for his average class size. So since the mode is so high, in this case, I would say that the median, I'm pointing to the median, that's the right answer. The median would be your best representative number for his typical class size, about 24 to 25 students. The reason why I'm choosing that is because, one, the mean is really close to 24, but it's less than the median. And since his mode is 28 and he has half of his classes, are more than 24 students, or 25 or more, then that means you want to choose a number that's not on the low end, but slightly on the higher end. So that's why I feel in this case, the median is the best representative number for his typical class size. He has, on average, about 24 or 25 students in his typical class size. Now, the reason why it was kind of hard to decide goes to the range, because we haven't discussed the range yet in this case. The range is how far apart his numbers are. So the range would be the greatest number of students he has minus the smallest number. So his class sizes range by 10 students, which you're like, well, that doesn't seem like a big number. But if you think about it, that's pretty significant, since his class sizes are between 18 and 28. That means that's like a third of 28 and half of 18. So that's pretty big. It's a pretty big range here for his class sizes. So that's why it was kind of hard to decide what his typical was. And the median is a good measure in this case. So there are some other examples for you. Here's one, for example, about a dendrologist that measures the height of different trees. So this person is asked to record some data about it. So he has found the height of these trees, and you're going to calculate the mean, the median, the mode, and the range. So just a good practice for you to be calculating all those. Especially in these times, we see a lot of information with numbers and data, and whenever they're talking about the average, you should be asking yourself, when they say average, like when they say the average number of people, and we're looking at the census and they're telling us the average salary or the average size of a home, are they calculating the mean? Are they calculating the median? Is it the mode? So asking those questions of statistics is important because it really reflects the way the data is gathered and also how you should be interpreting it. But you get better with that with time, and the more you use numbers. So give it a shot. Hopefully this practice is good for you and that you learned a little bit about mean, median, mode, and range. Thank you.